Greetings and welcome back to part three of the Devon Graves interview from Psychotic Waltz. There's going to be a couple more edited parts of this interview, so like I said, it's a long interview, but it's a very interesting one. So enjoy part three. Like I always say, please share on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, especially on Facebook groups. So enjoy part three. The next parts will be on shortly. Stay metalheads, and thanks for watching again. Be safe.
I thought it was pretty
Not
good.
unusual. Doom.
Well, Tom Jones has got a really kick-ass voice, and he's really powerful. It's similar to Messiah. I mean, in the timbre range,
Yeah.
And I didn't listen to Jane's Addiction. And the next day, one of my coworkers had some music playing, and I remember thinking the drumming was awesome. And what I liked about the drumming was, it's like, this sounds like Zeppelin, man. This sounds like the rock I liked. I was never too big a fan of this new wave of British heavy metal, the rhythm, the styles of rhythm in that kind of metal, because it was always like just really straight. Or, you know, it's one of those two things, right?
Yeah.
But I like that kind of like John Bonham, Mitch Mitchell, you know, this kind of like jazzier, more kind of swing kind of grooves. Even Black Sabbath were dealing with grooves like that, and I kind of miss that in music. And I heard this band with these kind of grooves. I'm like, who is this? This is Jane's Addiction. And I remember like listening to that record, and I started really liking it. Then I borrowed it, took it home, and really liked it a lot. And then I went and saw them play. And this was where like my whole world just turned. My whole idea of what is awesome. Okay. Because just before I walked in the door of that concert, it was, you had to be pretty to be in a band. You had to have nice hair. You had to, you know, like it had to be metal, you know, you had to sing high or whatever. All these things, there were all these things that made a good band. Right.
Yeah.
And all of those things got thrown out the door when I see Perry Farrell come out looking like he just crawled out of a trash can with some dirty hat on and some really ugly coat and green gloves. And he looked like he got his clothes out of a dumpster. And even his skin looked really bad and it's all sunken in his eyes. And then he takes off this coat and he's got some plastic bustier under that with these gloves that go up to his arms like this, and his long dreadlocks, and then he just they opened with Up the Beach, which I couldn't imagine them playing live in any case. And he's doing this, and this guy has a presence like, oh my God, this guy's like, I don't know, he's like Iggy Pop or Bowie or something. This guy's not like some metal singer. This guy's someone you can watch. This guy's got style. And I really found myself going, this is a fucking band. Everything about this, I love everything about this. And then I looked around and I noticed something else. I noticed that there are college students, heavy metal people, punk rockers, nerds, whatever you want to call them, you know, all walks of life. We were all from all these different cultures musically, all agreeing on this one band. And that taught me something about rock. You know, it taught me a little bit about kind of turning my back on what I believed in order to do what might be cool now. You know, I remember being in the really early 80s, right? Maybe 1983. And I was in a Guitar Center in LA. I don't know why I was in LA, but I was. And I took a guitar and I played one of my riffs. And at that time I was playing really Black Sabbath-y kind of riffs. That was my gig. I was 16, 17 years old, and I wanted to be Tony Iommi. I played with my wah-wah pedal half cocked up, so it always had this sound, and I'm playing these slow, doomy sounding riffs. and the guitar salesman, who's a few years older than me, is telling me how, oh, that's not what is cool. This is what's cool. You whatever, you know, something fast and something with this real even tempo. And it made me kind of like lose confidence in myself. Like, I guess what I'm doing isn't cool. And you know, I got to kind of, I don't know, modernize or whatever. And Psychotic Waltz in a way nodded to that as well, but they did it really good, you know, like they were doing that kind of new wave British heavy metal kind of rhythm sort of stuff. But I mean, I thought, okay, well, this is what we're going to do, but we do it dark, so I can get my, you know, teeth into that. That's kind of cool. And then a few years later, like all that music that I thought wouldn't be cool was all of a sudden cool. It's like, oh fuck, man, I could have been doing doom all this fucking time and I would have been a pioneer, you know. People would have said how I came up with it, you know.
I mean, one of my favorite doom bands is Trouble. I love Trouble.
I saw them open for King Diamond on the Abigail tour.
I remember seeing the flyer for that
Abigail tour.
Well, so getting back to like Social Grace and your favorite songs, I mean, for me, I always said to my family, when I die, I remember playing at my wake. Without a doubt.
Definitely play My Grave.
Well, there's that one as well, but this is something about that song I really like. I don't know why.
Well, I think I remember, unfortunately, is starting to have relevance nowadays, you know. My Grave is just made for a funeral. It's all about passing on and people realizing they love you and offering their expressions of love all at once and all too late, you know.
So I mean, your first album was released on your own label, I believe, Subsonic Records, was it? Subsonic or something? And then you signed with Rise and Sun Records. I mean, how did you feel about signing to Rise and Sun?
We thought we were making it, you know, because Subsonic was just us and a friend that had some money. I mean, we paid for about half the record ourselves, and this friend of ours named Rich invested enough to finish the record and as well as do other things. And the record store that Norm worked at, the owners of that record store were also partners.
Was that Blue Mimi?
Blue Meanie, yeah.
Yeah.
And but you know, we put it out ourselves, but we have no leverage. You know, we can take tapes to a radio station, and I remember we had good luck getting our stuff to be played in San Diego. And there was this one San Diego DJ that even did an interview with us talking about how we could be the first band to make it big out of San Diego. And this was at the Aslan demo time. And that guy ended up, so he was really like in our corner, you know, playing our music and stuff, and on the radio. Another guy named Jim McGinnis was playing our music too. And I remember, and then when we made a Social Grace, Brian Schock was his name. He moved to LA and started working for KLOS. I think it was KLOS. It's the biggest rock metal radio station in Los Angeles. And so we brought him I think Dan brought him the Social Grace CD, you know, like our buddy Brian, yeah, you're gonna. And he said straight out, he said, LA is a completely different ball game. Like, forget it.
Yeah, it's more like
so he didn't really help us out. But they were playing it on local record, like in San Diego. I remember one time I was in a pet store in the aquarium section. I'm really into aquariums. And I was in the aquarium section, and I heard something familiar come on the radio. Is that Jethro Tull? Oh, fuck, I remember. And there was one other person standing there. And I guess you got to imagine me at the time too. And I had my kind of long hair, and I probably looked like some bum or something. and I said, "Hey, do you hear that on the radio? That's me." And that person just went like,
"Yeah, right."
I don't talk to you, sir. So yeah, we used to hear our stuff on the radio. could bring it in ourselves, but needless to say, we can't do that nationwide or anything. So when we got this recognition, Norm was sending the demo tapes and the record out to fanzines, probably even like yours, probably even to you, for all I know. And I know certainly to Eula Garrett and other people, and we got these really good reviews in their magazines. And then, you know, Rising Sun then wanted to license the record in Europe. And, you know, we were feeling like, I mean, we were really young, and we were like, oh, we're getting a record deal. You know, when we go on tour, we're going to play Dynamo Open Air, and we're going to go on tour and like, you know, I don't know. I was expecting like how Led Zeppelin, you know, they get off their jet and all these people are waiting there, but there was nobody waiting.
There was just me there with a plaque saying, "I'm from England. I love you guys."
That was a couple of years later, but I remember like really saying something stupid at Eindhoven in Dynamo Open Air, like, because we were playing in front of like, I don't know, 20, 30,000 people.
That's
you know?
with Ahmed Same, wasn't it? An Obituary, I believe.
Yeah, and this our first album. All our whole career is ahead of us. So I remember saying like, wow, like we finally made it. You know, we finally made it. It was like such a stupid thing to say. It's like, you didn't make anything yet. It was just at the beginning, and you know, just at the beginning. But that was yeah, that's what it was like. You know, we don't have any idea of what to expect. You know, we kind of thought, I mean, I got to really say, especially when we were at that time, that first album, we really thought we were the best band there was. We really believed that. We really thought the reason we thought that was because, you know, at least from my perspective, is like, I thought that right when I met those guys, even before I was singing, like when I heard them play Raja and other songs, those guys were 16 and 17 and 18 years old that night. 16, 17 and 18, playing fucking Spiral Tower, if you will, just as you know it. And that fucking blew my mind. I thought, fuck, this is much better than Black Sabbath. That's what I thought. And these are my friends. These are my friends. I'll knock me over, you know? And then when I got into singing and I got into where I can do my high range and stuff. So that was the thing about my voice also. Like, while I'm singing, it sounds good to me. While I was singing, if I'm singing live, I think it's like I was feeling like, fuck, I'm untouchable. I'm the king, man. But when I'd listen back to that performance, I would be like so embarrassed. It would sound so bad to me. I'd be like, fuck, you guys, if I were you, I would fire me. This is fucking horrible. And it's similar on the records. Like, while I was singing, I thought I was kicking ass. I go back into the control room, I listen to the speakers, and I'm like, oh, it's not right. It's not good. And I remember there's one kind of vocal lesson I took, and this was at the end. This is an ironic thing. This was after Brian already left the band, and I was then going to pursue my solo career. And I took this one vocal lesson from a lady, and she was the one that taught me how to sing like I started singing in Dead Soul Tribe, with this really soft, when I'm singing the melodic parts, it's really with a very soft voice, right? And here was the thing, like, she was saying, like, give me some example of how to sing a line. And so that's too much. Like, and then, you know, I was singing it like whatever it was, you know, she's all, that's it. And I'm like, but anyone could do that. And she said, no. No, they can't. And I was like, that's the weirdest thing. It doesn't sound very good to me, right? It sounds lame. It's what I was thinking. But I went home and I was doing some recording of some stuff that ended up being Dead Soul Tribe. Some of it ended up being Dead Soul Tribe. And I started singing that way. And again, having this doubt, like, sounds no good. So now while I'm singing, I don't like the sound. I listen to playback and I love it. I'm like, that's weird. Now I'm used to it, you know, and you know, now I don't think that one should in rock or metal especially sing softly all the time, but I think that there needs to be times when you do, so that you can create this dynamics, you know, and that's where I was when I did, especially the second Dead Soul Tribe album, where I really found my way, where having these really soft, subtle verses done in a kind of a natural range, and then moving into choruses and or B parts that where the vocals get louder and fuller. I never did any of those falsetto screams in Dead Soul Tribe, though. That was when I thought that that was too passé and that would be mocked.
Yeah.
But I had to learn how to do that stuff again when I got back into Psychotic Waltz for the reunion. I had to kind of relearn how to sing high, and that was a rough road because I kind of was doing it wrong, you know.
So did the album Social Grace?
Right now, I could. I'm in better shape vocally now than I've probably ever been in my life because now I actually practice and train and have some discipline and in what I do. And back then, I was kind of like trying to be a rock star, even though I was like had a day job and stuff. But when it came to being in a band, be cool, smoke some weed, walk in the room and just belt it out. And that works maybe when you're 19, 20, 21, 22. But, you know, the truth is that there was a lot I was doing wrong, especially when it came to the distorted vocals, like the really, what you can call aggressive, the louder singing. I was kind of doing that wrong. And it never caught up to me until I start touring and then like realizing, wow, I can sing good today, but tomorrow I can't really talk very well, you know, and then get a little bit hoarse from it because I'm just, you know, like, and then the older you get, the more toll that takes. And on, for example, by this last tour, before the album came out.
Is that when I saw you was Ghost Ship with Octavius in Hamburg?
Yeah. And we had placed the song Pull the String as the opening song. And I suggested doing that, and he's all, yeah, man. Norm's all, yeah, man, we're gonna come out and like ga-dong, ga-dong, ga-dong. Could you imagine? And the first thing you sing is Satan. He's all, man, that's fucking when you start a show. I'm like, all right, let's do it. But I hadn't developed a way to sing that live. And when I sing in the studio, when I had been singing in the studio, I'll fuck my voice up for a song, you know. I'll gut it out till it sounds right, but then I won't be able to talk for a couple of days, you know, and much less sing. So when you're making an album, you can do that, but when you're playing live, you can't. And and it's all about that distorted singing. I learned something. I took a lesson during that tour because I was crashing and burning. I was singing that song, but I was wondering, why does my voice fall apart? Like I would sing that song, it would be okay. Then I would sing a couple more songs and then my voice would just start just cracking. Like not even cracking. It was like just this horrible sound coming out of my mouth when I'm trying to sing. It was bad. And I'm standing in front of, you know, several hundred people, like being forced to continue through with this. And and most of the time, later on in the show, then my voice would clear up and I would end the show most of the time actually well, and I would actually feel much better about it. But it would happen every night. Like, what is fucking my voice up? But why? Even this vocal coach couldn't say, well, why is it getting better later? Because if you're fucking your voice up, it should get worse and worse and worse. It's weird that it gets really bad and then gets good again. And I think when I was listening to some of these recordings, we had made multi-track recordings in a couple of these gigs, and I was listening to it. And I listened to how I was singing Pull the String. And the truth is I had no experience on how I should sing that song, really, and how I should really sing it. And I was just pushing my guts out. and I could hear, oh my God, no wonder I fucking destroy my voice. Listen to this shit, you know? And then, so yeah, my voice would be just wrecked for the next 3, 4, 5 songs, you know? And, but I learned that was kind of a blessing in disguise. And then it made me take this 1 or 2 additional lessons from somebody that helped me sort that out, and kind of taught me that when you're hearing people sing, like I can never be sure whether they're really shouting or whether they know how to make it sound like they're shouting. But there's a way to make it sound like you're shouting, but you're not really singing that loud. And I'm starting to master that now. I'm starting to master it now. It's a long road because you have to build your voice up. If I were to give a vocalist any advice, I would say first, when you're really just building your voice, don't sing in full voice. Do that thing I was doing, walking the streets, singing Dio or whoever under your breath. You'll start to develop the strength and the agility. And then you'll have to learn how to take the next step and bring the sound to where it resonates fully without the breath, the whispery part. Because that whispery part always makes you're going to lose too much air and you're going to dry your voice out. So that's only a first step to do that. Then you have to be like, if you're a new singer and you're trying to learn how to sing, and then you get it to this clear spot, really get good at that clear stuff. And then when you're good and solid at that clear stuff, then you can sort of add some kind of, I don't know, compression here, kind of like, I have to actually work into it. Start clear, then slowly work to where I can get that distortion in. And it's almost ambiguous what I'm really doing to make that happen. And I'm still searching and I'm still finding that cool spot because it's easy to overdo it and it's easy to sing too loud and hurt yourself. So there's this threshold where you're singing clear and then you do this little compression as little as you can get away with to where it just starts to happen. That's the sweet spot. That's where you sound like Ian Anderson on the Aqualung album or maybe some of Freddie Mercury's stuff, that just enough distortion to make it sound rock, but not so much that it's hurting you or sounding bad,
Right, and so the Social Grace album, did it sell really well for you?
Well, Social Grace album is nothing but belting. And that's like when I'm singing, let's say, for example, Halo of Thorns, right? Even when I hear that, I'm like, well, now I know why it doesn't sound like I wanted.
Wow.
I know all this now. I didn't know it then. I was just belting and belting. It was also part of this insecurity. This writing too many notes or holding notes too long or singing too powerfully all the time is all really just kind of inexperience. It may sound good to some people, but it never really sounded that good to me. And I start to understand why that is. But I remember coming to reckon with that vocal lesson with that lady when I'm like not belting it, because I realized I did everything like that. I belted everything, even my ballads, and I had no subtle register at all. And when she suggested to sing subtly, and I did that, she said, "Yes, that's it." That I remember that feeling like, well, that's not impressive. I need to floor you like every moment. And she's kind of like, if you do that, you're going to floor people. If you sing like this, it sounds really good when you do it. That's what she said. And so I, took this leap of faith and I can't listen to Social Grace. I mean, I'm really proud of that record. I really am. I like a lot of my ideas. Let's say besides what the band has done, it's needless to say that to me is a masterpiece. But if I look at the only thing I don't like about that record is my parts of what I'm doing there. And so that's what I would address. And when I can't listen to that record is because there are too many times where my voice bothers me. It's just as simple as that. And